Welcome
to
the Energy and Heart Podcast.
hosted by
Jiggy
and Steph. So today we're gonna talk about family. Throwback to season 1. I think was the first time I think we talked about.
Anything though, it was season 1.
Well, we talked about family. So recently I actually met my older brother. Actually, I think people don't know this. I have an older brother.
Let's just start off with the family tree.
Yeah, okay. So I have an older brother
New character.
who's a year older than me, Eric.
I didn't even know his name was Eric.
Well, we learn new things every day. So his name is Eric. He's 1 year older than me. He's an optometrist. He lives in Vegas. He's just random fact.
Dude, they're gonna like find him.
I know. And I have a little brother, David, who just finished in medical school and is in Michigan for ophthalmology for his residency. So as you can see, we have a family of doctors, and I am the black sheep. I think I might have mentioned this before. But yeah, so that's my family, and then my parents. So my older brother's been dating his partner for I think 6 years now, but I've never seen her, like I've never met her. I feel like 6 years is a pretty long time. And so this past weekend was the first time that I actually got to spend time with her and my brother. And for context, me and my brother are not super close. We grew up together, and I think he's always been somebody who is incredibly smart and brilliant, good at school, but and sort of just really supported me with my like school, like education, always gave me resources and stuff. But I don't think we ever really connected closely as like people. And I think going into adulthood, and maybe you can comment on like your relationship, but like I feel like because I don't see him often, he was like off in Chicago for a while, off in Vegas and Denver, like I felt like every time that I saw him, it was like meeting a new person, because there's such long stretches of periods of time that I never saw him. And it's crazy to think like we all grew up in the same household, but we're all incredibly different people. But he came to visit, and I was really excited because in the past year, I feel like we have made more efforts to connect and reconnect. I visited him a few times in Vegas. We'll see each other every so often, and so things have gone a lot easier, I think, to and not awkward or not this like weird, haven't seen you in a while, what does this mean, why does this feel weird. It's not like that anymore. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, like we both have the intention of reconnecting and being there for each other as siblings, as adults. And so it was nice to have that recommitment that we made the time that we had chatted. Actually, context on that, I'm going to keep it very brief, but when we reconnected, I had visited him as part of my Eat, Pray, Love journey across the U.S. After I got vertigo. And during that time was the first time that we talked about how we would care for our parents. Like, this is the first time we talked about his mental health and my mental health and his challenges at work and my challenges at work. And this is the first time that like in the conversation it got to a point where it got actually like really emotional. This is the first time that I'd ever seen him cry. Like, I don't even know the last time I saw him cry. And so I just remember like when he started crying, like I just like reached my hand across the table, and I was just like, whoa, this is like really strange. I've never really seen my brother like this. We've never really talked about this stuff. And something that he had mentioned to me within that same night was just like, I feel like with like families, like kind of what we have, like it's different kind of relationship that you have with like blood relations versus with friends, which like I can see that because even after not connecting for so long, I was just like, wow, like we connected very quickly for not seeing each other for a while. And so that was very emotional. So that's what led to like, oh, cool, now I'm meeting his partner. And so once I met his partner, I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was a little nervous because you don't know you don't know how other people mesh, and everyone relates differently and wants different kinds of people in their lives. And so um I didn't have any expectations, but I left the night just thinking like, wow, that was actually really enjoyable. Like I was just spending time with him as just like the only way I can explain it is as a sibling. Like it's not quite as a friend, because there's elements of that like friendship ish, but then there's a lot of like, oh, we got to like laugh at baby pictures together, and like in baby pictures you see he's like hugging me and like playing in the sandbox with me. Like it's that like big sis little sis, like big bro like little sis like vibes. It was very sweet, and like it was the first time like also he brought his partner home to also meet my mom. And so
Like your brother's first time ever bringing a partner of his to your parents ever.
yeah.
Oh,
Like,
that's saying something.
like everything. I think it's pretty serious. So yeah, and you know he came to pick me up and drove me and oh yeah, and Kato was there too. So like all of us were hanging out. And like I was just I think I was just so surprised at how pleasant it was. And usually it's like me and Kato and my parents hanging out, but it was so different to have like me, my brother, his partner, and Kato hanging out with my mom. I was like, oh, this hits a little different, you know? And so yeah, I feel really, I think, grateful to have like, you know, I only thought about my relationship with my parents and my brother more deeply after actually like building RBTL, because like they're the people that I learned how to relate from. And I was just thinking like, why are my relationships not where I would like them to be, you know? And I told you back then that I wanted to like work on these. And so it's cool to just see my brother and I's relationship in totally different place, like in a place of like play and like pleasure more than like, oh, let's unpack our like mental health like we did like at the beginning. And so there's just like this acceptance, I think, of like, oh, I could see us both actually spending time together or like traveling together, like, and seeing each other and hanging out. And that's not something I fathomed for a while, because that's not how my relationship was with my brother. I think I held on to a lot of resentment and because we did have at some point a falling out. Like that's kind of why like I didn't talk to him for a while. I was holding on to really difficult experiences that I had with him that I just didn't really like understand. And yeah, we had briefly talked about it too. Like we cleared some stuff like in between the last year, and it's allowed us to now be in a place where Kato and I talked about it, and we're like, you know those like white families where like all the siblings hang out like with their partners and shit. We're like, oh shit, like why is it that we could actually see ourselves doing that, you know? Like that's not what you expect, you know? And so we're just like, oh shit, like we actually travel together, like, oh cool, like I would be, it's not like you would come home and I would feel obligated to hang out with you because you were family. You would come home and I would, yes, feel some level of obligation, but I actually would be interested in spending time with you and making time for you. And so, yeah, that was my recent interaction with him. And I was just pleasantly surprised, because this is not what, this is beyond what I would have imagined, I think, to happen because of things that happened like in the past. So I think there's a level of, I know for me at least, the work in like forgiveness and like releasing some of the old stories that I had about the way that he was or did things, or all just all these stories, and then just like really grounding in like, okay, what is my actual experience with him now? Like if I were to not cloud it through all these different things that I thought of him like before, and like what if I just gave it a shot as to like get to know him as he is, see how much he's grown, because now we're in our 30s. So yeah, it's different. It's like we were both absent for like a decade of each other's lives, and then now we're just like, oh cool, let's hang out. So I feel very lucky.
what was it like witnessing your brother as a partner? Like, was he?
Dude.
I'm asking because I saw a different side of my brother that I didn't know existed, and I was a little bit jealous, but like, um, yeah, what was that like? And also, like, I'll ask it later.
Okay,
That's what it was.
so I would also love to hear how you experienced your brother, because it was hilarious in a very my brother specific type of way. So my brother is actually incredibly introverted, um, and but he's like he relates to people really well, speaks to people really well, but is actually very introverted and preferred like not to talk to anyone if he could. That's like his vibe. And when I got into the car, I was asking his partner like, I was like, yeah, so like how'd y'all like fall in love? Like, what's the story? Like I want to get clued in. And they kind of like didn't really answer the question, but they like met in like optometry school and like, and the thing is like, even though they didn't necessarily, there wasn't like a love story, like the way that like, you know, you would share your love story, like I would share like my love story, Kato. I think that there is just a lot of companionship is my sense. So again, this is all things that I'm experiencing from what I saw, and how I experienced them. But she's just like, it was hilarious. She's just like, dude, your brother like did not tell me anything about you guys. He didn't tell me anything before like I showed up here. I've asked him, he doesn't say anything. He hasn't connected me through text to you guys. Like he doesn't say anything. He just left a surprise. And then she was kind of like amused by that. But then my brother's like laughing in like the driver's seat, and I'm just like, this is his form of amusement, is to like put his partner in this place of like, like questioning what's gonna happen. But she was pretty chill, like about it. Like this is something that he does actually very often. Like he just doesn't really share much, and then he doesn't really plan. Like we planned everything last minute, for them, and so
He is last minute vibes.
yeah. No,
Every time I hear about your trips.
yeah. No, he's super like last minute. Like I've just come to accept that that's just part of how he
Must drive you
functions.
crazy.
No, it does drive me crazy. It drove me insane. I literally texted him 2 weeks ago. I was like, hey, you guys are coming, like let me know if you guys need some recs, like I was thinking like, oh, maybe I should just drive you guys around, like what's the deal.
Little miss
And then-
itinerary over here.
Yeah, I just want to be available to him. That's my commitment to like our relationship, is at least making time. And so when he comes during the dinner, like during when we're all hanging out, he's like, yeah, by the way, what should we do in LA? I was like, did I not text you all this? And then Nagar's like, yes, please give us some recs, because we don't know what we're doing around here. And so like I gave them a bunch of recs. They went to all of them, loved them on Sunday. But yeah, they're just really on the fly. It's really funny because like they both love music. Like they were freaking out over if y'all are familiar with Fred again. I've never heard of them until like they told me, but just them listening to music together, like I was like, this is actually really cute. Like just seeing how much they were vibing to it, how excited they got about that. It's very clear that she has a lot of belief in him and like what he can do, because she was encouraging him to like open up his private practice and stuff for optometry. And like my brother and I, interestingly, do have that side of us that is very similar, actually, which is like thinking about like we came to this conclusion in very different ways, but we love the idea of like having our own freedom, like building our own thing, like is actually part of both of us, which relates to like the whole me discovering like my family lineage of stuff that I'll get to eventually. But yeah, like she clearly like believes in him very, very deeply. They've been long distance for like, they went to school together, but they've been long distance for 2 years. She's in Canada. And yeah, she's not close by. So like I mean, when I say like there's commitment, like they visit each other every month and they like travel out, and they don't have flexible schedules like we do. We have so much freedom, to choose, but they have to work within their work schedule. So she'll literally like fly out right after work on a Friday and then fly out Sunday night, like wherever they're going from. And they try to make the most out of like their time together. And so they didn't need to tell me, I think, about their relationship for me to like pick up that there's a lot of love. and a lot of care. And it's just not shown in the way that like I imagine, like how I show love and how Kato shows love to me.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of love there. So
Aw.
yeah, but it's just I was just like, wow, like this is just a very different experience
Yeah.
that I wasn't expecting. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, a little bit. Well, my second question is, he brought her over for a reason.
oh, what's next? Like
What how does it feel to like know that you may possibly have a sister soon? Like, how does it feel to be like younger sister vibes?
yeah,
What is that like?
I mean, I'm stoked. She
Yeah.
actually, she's actually younger than me.
No,
So she, yeah, well,
wait.
we're the same age, like same
Okay.
year.
Okay.
But she's like a couple months younger than me. Like her birthday's a little bit
Oh.
later this year. So
Oh.
basically we're the same
Okay.
age.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I think is like super fun because my brother's only 1 year older than
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So
Okay.
like we've always been kind of like in a similar life stage or
Mhm.
similar like interest stage. And how do I feel about that? I'm pretty stoked because like he has the same philosophy, similar philosophy to me. Like he wants to travel, really experience things. Like he doesn't plan on getting a house till much later.
Yeah.
Like he's all about, I mean, we're all just trying to reclaim some of the levels of freedom that I feel like we both didn't have necessarily as a child, like, you know, being told to follow certain paths. So I think with that, because she also has a very free spirit, or that's my sense of her, I'm just like, wow, we could get along. Like she's
Yeah.
fun. She's
Yeah.
fun. Like
Mhm.
yeah. So I don't know. It's fun because like
Aw.
I don't have sisters. I only have
Yeah.
brothers.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that like reminds me of the time you told me about when I was in Korea and you were texting me about meeting Jamie
Yeah,
and Carrie
yeah.
for the first time, and
Yeah.
I was like, wow, to be honest, like I heard the excitement in your voice when you sent me the voice
Yeah.
message, and I was like, yo, I'm honestly so excited for you to have some like girlfriends,
Yeah.
because like I know I'm your bestie, but like I'm not getting lashes done, nails done, no like women empowerment, like as I'm not that. And like when it comes to like empower women kind of stuff, like
Yeah, I know.
I'm not femme, like, and I think it's just a different level of
Different
enjoying
person.
certain things. Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to jinx anything, but
yeah.
I just
I'm
wanted to
stoked.
see what that was like for you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm stoked. And yeah, I think I've always had, I think because I grew up with brothers, I think my natural like energy, I find it easier actually to like get along with dudes or like with more masculine kinds of energies. And only recently have
That makes
I,
sense.
and like I feel like I'm pretty, I don't want to say 50-50, but like I feel like, I don't want to say I'm masculine because I'm not, but like my energy feels like kind of in the middle. It's like balanced. And so only recently in the last couple of years have I like finally I've unpacked this in therapy, like my relationship with women. Like, I
Oh,
had to
well,
unpack
yeah,
it
you
with
have your
therapy.
reason.
Yeah. And all of
That's
that.
a different episode.
Yeah, that actually was a good episode. But yeah, so being able to just feel comfortable, like feel excited to spend time with my brother and his partner, I was like, damn, like this is like, oh, this is what it feels like to like have a relationship with your sibling, but as an adult, and not it not feel like obligation. It's like purely just out of joy. Yeah.
I feel that too, because like nowadays my brother and I aren't like trying to spend time together because we have to, but because like we should want to, and then we want to. So yeah.
Well, I wanted to know what did you discover, like when you hung out with him and his partner, about the way that he loves and shows care or affection.
I think the first time I met who is now my sister-in-law, but back in the day, was his girlfriend, and this my sister-in-law now was only the second girlfriend of his that I've ever met.
Mm.
He did bring a previous woman to like meet my mom and stuff, but that relationship didn't work out. But um, I don't want to talk about that one. I don't count that one. I want to talk about my sister-in-law because I love her so much. But
Yeah, for sure.
basically, I mean, to be honest, like I did see a huge difference between the way that my brother interacted with that woman versus my sister-in-law, and I was surprised, but not that surprised, to see like a really romantic, charming side of him that was like really sweet and so freaking thoughtful. Like this dude is impressive when it comes to like being
Wow.
romantic. And I was like, at first when I heard it, I was like, I didn't know that my brother could be so sweet. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not surprised because I'm that way too. But I think that I can't speak for the both of us, obviously, but I think there's a part of me and my brother that maybe we just really, I don't want to say prioritize, but it's important to us to treat the women in our lives like with a lot of care because of our mom passing away. I
Mm.
think that I honestly think that like my brother and I might have mommy issues. Like I think both of us might have mommy issues. I don't know, but I think like the way that I see a lot of similarities in the ways that my brother and I treat our partners,
Mm.
and like the romantic side, the charming side, like all of those things, the thoughtfulness that definitely didn't show up for us each other as siblings. Um, but seeing that side of him, I think, is really sweet. And I've asked my sister-in-law, like, what is it about my brother that you like fell in love with or love so much? And they were friends for like I think like a decade or something
Oh
before they
wow.
started dating. And yeah, I'm happy that they, whatever happened, that they decided to like come together. I'm also seeing a lot of peace in my brother that I hadn't seen in him before he started dating my sister-in-law. And my my brother is 7 years older than I am, and then my sister-in-law is 9 years older than he is. So I think that her level of maturity and patience and all of those things, that I think that kind of brought him ease too.
Mm.
um and I said this in during their wedding in my speech. I made my brother cry. I was like, yes. But basically, I said that I grew up being so thankful for my brother. Oh my god, I'm getting emotional. But
Oh.
I grew up being so thankful for my brother because um yes, I when I was growing up, my parents were around, but my brother was the one who I looked up to most. Like my brother was my hero. I wanted to be like him. Um he protected me, and I was always scared of him more than I was scared of my parents. And I always like treasured what his opinions were, what his advice was. Um, anything he said, whether it was good or bad, like always hit like 100 times more than anything that my parents told me. Um, like when my mom had come to America first, he was the one who made me my food. He took care of me. And even when we came to America, mom was going to school, and he taught me English. He put in the extra time to help me out with my homework. Like he he showed me who Eminem is. Like he's the reason why I know who Britney Spears is and who Aqua is, and like all of this, like everything I love is because of him. I remember when he used to be obsessed with like Starbucks caramel macchiatos. I started drinking caramel macchiatos. His cologne, like we have the same taste in cologne, but if I think that he smells good, I find out what bottle he has and I buy the same one. Um, yeah, he just has a lot of influence in me, and like, but like growing up, he has his own traumas too. And me being so young, I always felt so behind, and I never felt as though I had the capacity, the tools, the maturity, the understanding to be a support for my brother. So like he would always listen if I had something to vent about as like a freaking like 10-year-old, I don't know. But no one was asking him how he was doing. No one was asking him what he was going through. And at the time, I didn't even know if I could ask questions like that. I didn't even know that I was allowed to ask questions like that. Because also in like Korean culture, you're not supposed to get into the elder's business. Um, and I remember one time, like when we were in our 20s or something, we got into this huge, we always like used to argue so freaking much. At one time, one day he was just like, you grew up like me being there to support you, like da da da. But he was like, but no one's asking me how I'm doing. No one ever asked me how I'm doing. And he had to show up for my mom when she got that heart attack. And I didn't know about the heart attack. He knew first. He flew down from Michigan to go take care of her at the hospital. Um, when my mom was in the hospital with cancer, like he was the one taking care of her. Even though my dad and I were there, he was the one taking care of her. And yeah, like, so I just always was so thankful for him, but didn't know how to repay him. And so in the wedding speech, I explained all of that. I was like, I grew up just feeling so bad and so thankful at the same time. And then I turned to my sister-in-law and I was like, that I'm just so thankful for you that that you somehow are able to kind of give him that comfort, the support, the love that like that I never could. And I love that my brother is receiving love that he's so deserving of. And when they got married, it was like a little bit after my mom had passed away. So I was like, you know, like you were there for us when mom passed. And I think like mom would be so happy to have you as like a daughter-in-law because they never got to meet. And yeah, they started dating like shortly after my mom passed, and but they just like they had like just missed each other. And I was like, you know, I think my mom would have been so proud to have you as a daughter-in-law, and you've become like such a great, I'm so blessed to have you as a new addition to our family. So then they both cried. But yeah, I love, I really thank my sister-in-law too. Like I think my brother and I's relationship has gotten better because of my sister-in-law too. She has a younger brother who is gay. So I think that somehow, this is a guess, this is an assumption, but I think that there may have been some conversations between her and my brother where maybe she helped him like be more compassionate about where I'm coming from as a gay person. And yeah, I'm not, my brother is like a tough love kind of guy. He's so thoughtful and sweet. He's not like a words of encouragement kind of guy, but he would say something like, oh, we got this house and it has this extra room so that when you visit you have a room to stay in, you know?
Yeah,
like
I know exactly.
you know, the thought is there.
Yeah.
And yeah, like my brother and I used to never talk about me being gay ever. But I remember the first time I met her, in the most intense moment possible, my brother and I had to like have an interview with the government or something like that because our green card was kind of like not in jeopardy, but it was up in the air because my mom was the applicant and she had passed away. So my brother and I had to have a interview with America basically. And in the waiting room, like the most intense moment, my sister-in-law turns to me and goes, so what kind of girls are you into? Like what's your type? And my brother's right there and I'm like, what are you doing? But I was like, I guess I can just show you better than I can tell you. Yeah. So I showed her pictures of my exes and she like texts my phone. She's like, oh, you're into the sexy type. And I was like, I guess. And she takes my phone and shows it to my brother. She's like, look. And my brother's like, and I'm like, oh, whoa, that was crazy. But yeah, my sister-in-law is so freaking cool. It's like awesome to have that older sister that I never had. I'm so thankful and so happy that she is so freaking cool. Um, I don't assume that like in-laws are supposed to get along. I don't assume
Yeah.
that, but I'm so thankful that like she and I get along so freaking well. Um, I mean, like as sad as the circumstances were, like my dad passing away and we all had to go to Korea, but like I had a blast because all three of us could spend like a month together, and we have never spent that long together before. And she would like cut up fruits for me. Um, I would be like in my little room, like working on my website or something, and she would come in with like fruits cut up, and
No.
I'd be like, "Do you want to look at my new website?" And she'd be like, "I'm so proud of you." Why am I so emotional? Yeah, I just really consider myself lucky. I remember like I think it's the way that she cares for me and takes care of me. Like um, again, back to the first time that we met. I remember telling my brother, I was like, "Hey, I really want to get my eyebrows done at some point," and she like made it a priority to make sure we had time in the day to go get my eyebrows done. Oh my gosh, she's just yeah. I think she helps me feel seen and supported in ways that I never have. And I mean, if she does that with me, like I can't imagine how much she cares for my brother. And I straight up told my brother, I was like, "You're so lucky to have her." He's like, "I know." She's like, "Yeah, you hear that? You're so lucky to have me. Listen to your sister." But at the same time, like I'm happy for both of them because I know what a great guy, so protective, so hardworking, so considerate, and so sweet my brother can be too. What was the intention of this episode? I don't even know, but
I mean, it was just to
uh,
share about family relationships evolving as adults. I mean,
yeah,
it's I love because something that I think is important to you is feeling like you have like family, you know. And I feel like she's somebody. I mean, I we have even talked about like how big of a part she's played, but clearly in this conversation, it's very clear that like she has a really big like
yeah,
impact on like you're just feeling at home. I
yeah,
think with family, and so I think that's really cool.
yeah. And to touch up on like getting to know our brothers as like I feel like finally now I'm able to. Yes, I've had a relationship with my brother in the past, like growing up and stuff, but is that really a relationship or like we were just kind of
Living with each other.
yeah, because now I'm like I want like getting to know my
Yes,
brother.
yes.
Like um my brother has still yet to talk about how we grieved my mom passing because we kind of like took it on our own path and like our dad passing.
Yeah.
And we only just kind of started talking about his dreams,
Yeah.
and he wants to open up his own sushi restaurant one day. And we were talking about me going into like branding mode. I'm like, oh my god, like what is the name of it, what's the logo gonna be, and what's the font gonna be like, and what's the interior design of the restaurant, and oh my god, you should put a photo booth in there, and like
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And that was exciting. Like I love being able to support him in whatever way. And like one of my dream one day is to be able to invest into his restaurant and for it to get bigger and bigger too. Um
Dude.
yeah, I'm learning that he loves to like I'm learning that he's an outdoors guy. He loves camping. He has a Bronco. I don't know if you know what a Bronco is. It's a car. It kind of looks like a Hummer but not. But it's gigantic car, and like he like takes it into the woods, and like he can pitch a tent and like go fishing and what? Yeah, he and his like he has a big German Shepherd. His best friend has a Great Pyrenees that's purebred, so it's like gigantic polar bear dog, and they take the dogs go camping. I'm like, you like peace? Like you seek peace? Like you know how to do that? But
Maybe there's a lot to learn.
Yeah. I think it's exciting, and now like my brother and I had a conversation with my brother after my dad passed away, and I was like, I think I've said this in previous episodes too, but I intentionally told him, hey, I know that when mom passed, you and I took our own paths, but with dad gone, like it would really mean a lot to me and hopefully you too if we can like do this together because we're all we got. So yeah, we I think that we both understand that we really need to make it a priority to keep in touch and see each other. So now I'm like figuring out going to Michigan. He's trying to figure out like coming to LA and stuff, and hopefully continue to go to Korea together too.
Dude, that's so beautiful. There were like two things that
Yeah.
I wanted to like ask about, like or share. So like one thing when you were talking about like oh you just didn't know how to be there for your brother, and like the guilt that like you were feeling around that, feeling bad. I was just thinking about that, made me think about my conversation with my brother where when he was sharing like all his challenges, like I just remember like looking at him and being like, dude, I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you.
Oh.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. And it's just like, and like I feel like now that we are in a place where we can, it's just like there's something about it that's just so fulfilling, I think, in many ways. And I was going to ask you like how you feel about this other part, which is you mentioned like, oh, like I love branding, and like you're talking to your brother. Dude, I feel like, you tell me you feel this, I feel like a little puppy around my older brother at times, even though we're 1 year apart.
Yeah.
And it's the like, like, let me help you with like,
Yeah.
and so like when I found out that he wanted to open up his private practice,
Yeah.
I was doing my own version of what you were doing, where I was like, yo, like if you're struggling with like figuring out how to deal with that, like with our parents, like let me know. I would love to talk about that, like all these things, because I'm just like, I've been there, like I know what it's like to do your own thing, like please like talk to me. Like, and I'm just like, what the fuck, like where did that come from, you know? And so I just like love seeing how like the evolution of like, oh, like your older brother doesn't mean that you always have to be the one giving, that you can also receive too. And I think it's the way that we're both attempting to show up for them that I think does make a difference, even if it's not necessarily said.
Yeah, I think we're in a very interesting position to be able to like, yes, we may not have been able to support them in the past, but we can contribute a lot to their future and their dreams. And like, yeah, my brother's a sushi chef. He's a best sushi chef in the entire freaking world. But like he was like, yeah, you know how to make websites, like I need help with that. I'm like, bet. You need photographers? Here's how I gotta set up social media. Like, let's go. But yeah.
Wow. What would you say was the takeaway for this one?
For me, I think that here's the thing. When I was in Korea and learning English, all of these English books had white families, like blonde and brunette white families with their golden retriever dog in this perfect full house and with nice green front lawns, and they would just be like playing soccer and or baseball, like the son and dad throwing a ball, and everybody were just happy getting along. And I thought, oh, that's like an American family thing. And I think that me moving to America made me think as if family's dynamic is supposed to be like that. Otherwise, there's something wrong with your family. And I remember when my friends were on the phone with their parents, and when they were hanging up, they would say, okay, see you later, love you. And I'd be like, y'all tell each other on the phone that you love each other, when like we don't even tell each other that in person. And I'm mentioning that to say, like, I think that it might be easy, especially for immigrant families, to feel like there's something wrong with us or lacking in us. Like, what's wrong with our family? Why can't we be like that white family over there, you know? But the truth of the matter is that every family dynamic is just so different. And majority are struggling one way or the other.
Yeah.
And like I don't think it's talked about enough. Like people always talk about like trauma, like family trauma or trauma from parents or like generational trauma and stuff, but people don't talk about like the dynamic
Mm-hmm.
in which it can evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And even though a past might look a certain way, hopefully like no one has to pass away in your family to kind of have this point of view or have hope or to in order to put an intentional effort into the healing of your family relationships. But I know it's easier said than done, and I know that everybody's case is so complicated, but there's a little piece of me that wishes healing for all of us in our families. And that's sometimes that's just so unfair to say because some relationships are like literally so impossible. But my relationship with my mom used to be so freaking toxic. And thank God that at least I had a hint of what healing between us looked like before she died. And my dad, he passed away not even knowing I'm gay. I never showed him my real self to him. He doesn't even know I have tattoos and he passed away. And hopefully somebody out there can really show your authentic self to your parents and receive acceptance or not, but at least know. My dad passed away without me even knowing whether he would show up to my wedding or not. And then now I have my last chance with my brother, and it's work. Like I'm not saying that he's a busy guy too, and he can't always make a phone call to me too. But I also have to put my ego aside and can't take that personally. I'll just simply go out of my way to call him first, and it is what it is. Sometimes it's just like to make things work, it just has to be what it is. And yeah, I just want to show that like family dynamics can change. It's just that you really have to open up your heart in a very uncomfortable way.
Mm.
But it doesn't mean it's impossible.
Vulnerability is dope.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, like, listen, like, I came out to my family when I was 13 years old. If you would have told me that 17 years later, my brother and my partner would meet in Michigan without me being there, and my brother would make her and her sister like free sushi at his restaurant without me having to be there, and him like going out of his way to get to know my girlfriend without me having to be there, I would have been like,
You're crazy.
no way. So it takes time. Even if it's 17 years, it takes time.
Yeah. I think the takeaway from me is like I feel very lucky, like you mentioned, you hope that people don't have to wait for somebody to pass, like to have it, like to work on these relationships. And I feel lucky to be in a place where like that hasn't happened. And what I would want people to know is that there's never a guarantee that your family dynamics or relationships like can shift, but there's a lot of room to bid towards what you're looking for. I don't think if I didn't make the effort that my brother would have reached out. I don't know that, but I know like I had it in me and I had the ability
Brothers.
to like, yeah, I had the ability and like skills and like openness finally to actually reach out to him. So
Yeah.
knowing that like you can't control another person's reaction or response to you, but you can still own up to taking action towards something that you would desire.
Yeah. Also, like, I I hope you don't do it alone. Like, I understand that you might be the one approaching a conversation with your siblings or your parents, but like, let your friends in on what you're working on, because we actually had a conversation
Yeah.
about us intentionally wanting to work on our relationships with our brothers. And her story when she, she her experience with her brother inspired me to wanting to intentionally work on my relationship with my brother. And I remember after a year of trying with my brother, I remember telling her like I think I'm about to tap out. Like it's whatever effort I'm putting in doesn't seem to be working, and I'm exhausted. And like shortly after that is when my dad passed, and so now it's come to this. But yeah, I hope you have like friends you can talk about it with too, and gain that support. Also, shout outs to my sister-in-law. She's the coolest. She's the best. I love her so much. She's so cool.
Every episode ends with something is so cool. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time.
I wasn't sure if we were gonna cry this season, but here we are.
It was a very organic cry.
For sure.
I wasn't sure I was gonna cry today, but
Also, if you guys go ahead and then it ends up not working out, like don't slide in our DMs blaming us. Like don't do that. We're not making you
responsibility for what happens with
yeah,
your relationship.
that's
why I
sign a
said what I said.
contract. Like we're not responsible for nothing, okay? Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.